So you've done it. You've got the totes full of food, you've got the water stored, the first aid kits are stocked, the batteries are charged. You feel ready. But what happens when the biggest threat isn't what's outside, but the fraying nerves inside that make you snap at the sound of your partner breathing? That's cabin fever. And it's not about being bored. It's a serious operational risk that can make smart, prepared people do incredibly foolish things. It can degrade your decision-making, ruin your sleep, and turn a well-prepared family into a group of bickering, stressed-out individuals. That's how simple problems become life-threatening disasters. Today, we are going to build a rock-solid plan to keep your mind sharp, your mood stable, and your household running smoothly when you're stuck inside for the long haul. If you're serious about being truly prepared for whatever comes your way, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell because you won't want to miss this. This is about making your mind your strongest asset. And as you're getting ready to take your skills to the next level, I encourage you to check out my comprehensive guide. Pick up my new book, Before It All Falls Apart, the emergency prep manual for the real world, available on Amazon. The link is in the description below. When it comes to cabin fever, the enemy is a predictable pattern of psychological strain that creeps up on you over time. It's not a sudden snap, it's a slow burn. And if you know the stages, you can see it coming and cut it off at the pass. Think of it in phases. Phase 1 is the first day or two. This is the adventure phase. A big storm hits, the power goes out, and there's a sense of energy and even relief. You're running your checklist. You're getting everything secured, and it almost feels exciting, like you're camping in your own home. You stay up too late listening to the radio. You burn through your best snacks. You wear yourself out thinking you need to be on high alert every second. Then comes phase 2, which usually kicks in around day 3 and can last for about a week. This is when the novelty wears off and the monotony starts to bite. The same 4 walls, the same food, the same faces. Little annoyances that you'd normally brush off suddenly start to feel like huge personal attacks. Your son leaving his socks on the floor feels like a profound act of disrespect. You start to experience something called temporal blur, which is a fancy way of saying all the days just melt into one another. Was that yesterday? Or Tuesday? Your motivation starts to drift away like smoke. After that, we enter phase 3, usually around the 8-day mark and lasting up to 3 weeks. I call this the edge erosion phase. Your sense of purpose starts to feel fuzzy and abstract. People tend to go one of 2 ways here. They either underfunction, becoming sluggish, distracted, and lazy, or they overcontrol, becoming nitpicky, micromanaging, and critical of everyone around them. This is when arguments start to happen in cycles, the same fight over and over again. And if you go beyond 3 weeks, you can hit phase 4, which is identity shrink. This is a dangerous place. You start to see yourself not as a person who is temporarily stuck inside, but as a trapped person. Your whole world becomes those 4 walls, and your brain starts screaming for a way to break the spell. This is when people make incredibly risky decisions, like taking an unnecessary trip outside into a dangerous situation, just to feel a moment of freedom. So how do we stop this train? We set up what the pros call behavioral tripwires. Think of these like smoke detectors for your mental health. You don't stand there and debate with a shrieking smoke detector, you just react. You and your family agree on a few simple, observable rules beforehand. For example, a tripwire could be sleeping through your alarm 2 days in a row. It could be skipping a basic hygiene step like brushing your teeth more than once. It could be raising your voice in anger twice in a 24-hour period. It could be forgetting what day of the week it is. The moment a tripwire is hit, you don't argue about whether it was a big deal or not. It happened, and because it happened, you immediately run a pre-planned counter protocol, a simple action plan to get things back on track. This takes the emotion and the debate out of it and replaces it with simple, disciplined action. If every part of your house is used for everything, sleeping, eating, working, relaxing, your brain gets confused and fatigued. It never gets a signal that it's time to switch gears. So we're going to turn your living space into a tool that works for you, not against you. We do this by creating microzones, even in a tiny apartment. This is cheap, easy, and you can do it right now. First, you need an operations node. This isn't your command center for fighting off zombies. It's just a small dedicated spot. It could be a little end table, a shelf, or even just a specific corner of the kitchen counter. This is where your radio lives. a notebook for logging information, a clock, a map, and your battery chargers. Nothing else goes here. No coffee mugs, no magazines, no kids' toys. When you are in this spot, your brain knows we are in work mode. Next, you need a build bench. This is a spot for doing things with your hands. It could be another corner of that kitchen table, or a spot on the floor with a protective mat. This is where you maintain your gear, practice tying knots, clean your tools, or do any kind of hands-on skill work. It's a place for productive tinkering. Then, you need a movement strip. This is crucial. Find a path in your home, maybe a hallway or a space next to the couch that's about 2 body lengths long. You make a hard and fast rule. This strip never ever gets blocked. No storage totes, no shoes, no laundry baskets. This is your training lane. It's where you can do step-ups on a sturdy box, stretch, or just pace back and forth with a weighted backpack to get your blood flowing. Its existence gives you permission to move. Just as important is the quiet corner. Find one single chair in your home, preferably in a spot with the least amount of foot traffic. Put a small lamp next to it, a blanket, and maybe a pair of earplugs or noise-canceling headphones. This chair has one purpose: deliberate rest and recovery. There are no phones allowed in the quiet corner. You can read a book, you can meditate, you can just sit and stare at the wall. It's a sanctuary and a social table. This is where you eat, play cards, do puzzles, or just talk. The most important rule of the social table is no problem-solving talk. This is a protected zone for morale that separates your leisure time from your logistical worries. To make these zones feel even more real, use visual and even scent anchors. You could use a different colored lamp in the quiet corner, or lay down a specific small rug in the build bench area. Scent is an even more powerful tool because it bypasses your conscious thought. You could keep a small open bag of coffee beans at the ops node and maybe a little dish with a few drops of a citrus or mint essential oil at the build bench. When your brain smells coffee, it thinks ops. When it smells mint, it thinks work. A day without structure is mental quicksand. It feels formless and blurry, and it will suck your motivation right down. The key is to build a solid structure for your day. This isn't about a rigid military-style schedule you'll hate, but a rhythm that carries you through the day without having to constantly use willpower to decide what to do next. You slice your day into distinct phases, and you create hard edges between them using simple cues like light, sound, and activity. Let's walk through a sample day. The first phase is recon, and it happens in the first hour you're awake. As soon as you wake up, you turn on a bright, cool colored light. This tells your brain it's go time. You hydrate, you take care of hygiene, and then you do a quick 5-minute sit rep or situation report. What's the weather doing? Take a quick, discreet peek outside. Listen to the radio for a few minutes. Check your battery levels. The next phase is the work build block. This is a focused 90-minute to 2-hour chunk of time for quiet, deliberate tasks. You could be repairing a tool, learning a new skill from a book, cleaning a specific area, or prepping food for the day. This is focused time, not for idle chatter. After that, you need a movement phase. This is a non-negotiable 30 to 45-minute block where you get your heart rate up. You use your movement strip to do some exercises. We'll talk more about what kind of exercises later, but the point is to move your body and breathe deeply. Then comes a short admin phase. This is maybe 30 minutes to update your logbook, adjust your inventory list, and make a loose plan for the next day. It's the time for the logistical thinking that you banned from the social table. After that, you have a social morale phase. This is maybe an hour where you have a meal together, you play a game, you tell stories. This is protected time for positive connection. And as the day ends, you enter the quiet down phase for the last hour or two before bed. The bright overhead lights go off and you switch to warm, dim lighting, like a small lamp. All screens go off. You can read a paper book, do some gentle handiwork, or just talk quietly. You're intentionally signaling to your brain and body that the day is ending and it's time to prepare for sleep. You can even put your lights on cheap electrical timers so these changes happen automatically, removing one more decision you have to make. You're creating a daily rhythm that your body can learn and depend on, which provides a massive sense of stability and normalcy, even when the world outside is anything but. In any crisis, information is vital, but there's a huge difference between being informed and being inundated. Leaving a 24-hour news channel on in the background or constantly scrolling through social media feeds doesn't make you more aware. It just floods your nervous system with anxiety and creates a feeling of learned helplessness, where you feel so overwhelmed by the world's problems that you freeze up and do nothing. We're going to avoid that by treating information like a tool, not a flood. The first rule is to establish fixed information windows. Instead of sipping from a fire hose of bad news all day long, you will turn on a small controlled faucet 2 or 3 times a day at pre-scheduled times, maybe at 7:30 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and 7:30 at night. For 15 minutes, you check your trusted sources. Outside of those windows, the radio is off, the TV is off, the news apps are closed. This puts you in control. During your information window, you follow a simple 3-step process. First, what happened? Just the facts. Second, does this new information change our risk level or our plan? Most of the time, the answer will be no. And third, if the answer is yes, what is the single smallest immediate action we need to take? You write that action, or you write no change, in your logbook. Then you close the window. The information has been processed, a decision has been made, and you can move on with your day. To make this even more effective, especially if you have a family, you can appoint a rotating information officer. Each day, one person is responsible for checking the news during the windows and delivering a very brief summary to everyone else. This is a fantastic job for a responsible teenager. It gives them a real sense of purpose, and it prevents everyone else from getting sucked into their own doom-scrolling loops. You also need to practice strict rumor control. In a crisis, rumors spread faster than fire. Any piece of information you hear from an outside source gets tagged with one of 3 labels: confirmed, unconfirmed, or disproved. You only ever take action based on information that is confirmed from a trusted source. This simple discipline prevents panic and keeps you from wasting precious energy and resources chasing ghosts. The ultimate goal here is to be the master of your own attention. You only have so much focus and mental energy each day. You must spend it on problems you can actually solve, not on things happening 1,000 miles away that you have no control over. Your brain is a muscle. If you just sit it on the couch and feed it mindless entertainment for weeks on end, it will get soft and lazy. When you need it to perform under pressure, it won't be ready. You need to give it a little bit of a workout every single day. This isn't about doing complex math problems, it's about creating competence loops. A competence loop is a simple cycle where you practice a skill. You produce something tangible as a result, and then you test it. Here are a few simple drills you can do with things you probably already have. First, the blindfold knot stack. Pick 5 useful knots, like a figure 8, a bowline, or a trucker's hitch. You can find videos online for all of these. Practice tying them. Then try tying them with your eyes closed. Then try tying them with your eyes closed against a timer. Keep a log of your times. The goal isn't just to be fast, but to be smooth and confident. You are building a skill that works on muscle memory, which is exactly what you'd need in the dark or under stress. Another one is disassembly from memory. Choose a simple piece of your gear, a camp stove, a water filter, your radio, whatever. Take it apart to the level you would for basic cleaning or maintenance. Lay the parts out in order. Now put it back together without looking at the manual. If you get stuck, you can look at the manual once, but then you have to immediately take it apart and reassemble it again from memory. This burns the procedure into your brain. A fun one is constraints cooking. Have someone randomly pick 3 shelf-stable ingredients from your pantry. Say, a can of beans, a bag of rice, and a can of tuna. Your mission is to create a complete, edible meal from those 3 things in under 30 minutes, using as little fuel as possible. This forces creativity and problem solving. This idea of building practical skills is something I talk about a lot. It's a core theme in my new book, Before It All Falls Apart, The Emergency Prep Manual for the Real World, which is available on Amazon. The link is right down there in the description. It's all about creating these small wins that build real confidence. Another great drill is map planning. Take a paper map of your local area. Plan 2 different routes from your home to a designated safe point. Mark them up. Identify potential choke points like bridges or narrow roads. Identify sources of water. Identify areas you'd want to avoid. You're training your brain to think strategically about your environment. They keep your brain accustomed to learning and problem solving, which is a state of mind that confinement tries to steal from you. And at the end of each drill you have an artifact, a perfectly tied knot, a reassembled tool, an edible meal, a marked up map. You have proof of work. You can look at it and say, I accomplished something today. That feeling is a powerful antidote to despair. When you're stuck indoors, exercise isn't about getting a six-pack or training for a marathon. It's about chemistry. You are moving to manage your neurochemicals, maintain posture, and prevent the stupid little injuries that can become big problems in a crisis. Think of it as pushing the reset button on your mood. We want to build a simple three-part circuit that you can do every single day in your movement strip. It should only take you about 20 to 30 minutes. The first part is a load. This is as simple as putting about 10 or 20% of your body weight into a backpack. Use books, canned goods, or bottles of water, and either marching in place for a few minutes or just holding it like a suitcase for 60 seconds on each side. This reminds your muscles and bones that they are designed to carry weight, which helps maintain your structural integrity. The second part is a pull-push. For the pull, you can do rows. Loop a sturdy towel around a doorknob that you know is solid. Don't use one that just latches. Use the whole knob assembly. Lean back with your feet planted and pull your chest towards the door. For the push, you can do simple push-ups. If a regular push-up is too hard, elevate your hands on a sturdy chair, a coffee table, or even against a wall. The higher your hands, the easier it is. The third part is hips, spine. Our bodies are not meant to sit in chairs all day. You need to move your hips and spine through their full range of motion. You can do step-ups onto a sturdy box or the bottom step of a staircase. You can hold your weighted pack and do a simple hip hinge, like you're about to set it on the floor, keeping your back straight. And you can do some gentle spinal mobility exercises like the cat-camel stretch on all fours. That's it. Load, pull, push, hips, spine. Keep a simple log where you just check off the boxes each day. The checkbox makes it feel automatic and less like a chore. If you're older or not used to exercise, your priority should be preventing falls. You can practice standing on one leg while holding onto a wall for support. You can do sit-to-stands, which is just practicing getting up from a chair without using your hands. You can walk slowly, heel to toe, down your movement strip. 10 minutes of careful, deliberate movement is infinitely better than 0 minutes. Movement is medicine for a trapped mind. There are invisible forces in your home that have a massive effect on how you think and feel. Stale air, dim light, and a room that's too hot or too humid can absolutely crush your cognition and your mood. The good news is, you have control over these silent levers. Let's start with air. As you sit in a sealed room, you're breathing out carbon dioxide. As that CO2 builds up, it makes you feel foggy, irritable, and sleepy. The fix is simple. At least twice a day, you need to do an air flush. You crack open a window just a little bit, and if you have a box fan, you point it out the window for 5 minutes to push the stale air out. Then you can turn it around and point it in for 5 minutes to pull fresh air in. Yes, even if it's cold outside. This quick exchange makes a world of difference to your mental clarity. Temperature is another lever. Try to keep your space within a consistent, comfortable band, say between 66 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 19 to 21 Celsius, if your resources allow. A room that's too warm will make you feel sluggish and lazy. A room that's too cold increases physical tension and can make pain feel worse. And also pay attention to humidity. The ideal range is somewhere between 40 and 60%. Air that's too dry can irritate your airways and make it harder to sleep. Air that's too humid feels heavy and oppressive. You can raise the humidity by briefly boiling a pot of water or hanging a damp towel. You can lower it by doing an air flush with a fan. By scheduling these small environmental changes, an air flush at 9 a.m. and 4 p.m., a light shift at sunset, you are creating more of those hard edges that give your day structure and keep your brain in balance. In a long-term confinement situation, sleep is not a luxury. It is a critical piece of gear. It's the foundation of your mental health and decision-making. And if it starts to unravel, everything else will follow. You must build your sleep schedule like a fortress and defend it fiercely. The single most powerful rule for good sleep is this: have a fixed wake-up time 7 days a week. I don't care if you went to bed late. I don't care if it's Saturday. You get up at the same time. Your body's internal clock thrives on consistency, and waking up at the same time every day is the anchor that sets that entire rhythm. If you had a short night, it's better to take a short 20 to 30-minute nap in the early afternoon than it is to sleep in, which just messes up your clock for the next night. You also need a strict caffeine curfew. For most people, that means no caffeine of any kind for at least 6 to 8 hours before your planned bedtime. Keep your morning coffee, but skip that afternoon or evening cup that you think you need. It's interfering with your sleep quality more than you realize. The light rule is also critical. Bright light in the first hour you are awake, and warm, dim light for the last 2 hours before you go to bed, and absolutely no phone screens in bed. The blue light from the screen tells your brain it's the middle of the day, which suppresses the melatonin you need to fall asleep. If you absolutely must use a device, keep it at arm's length, turn the brightness all the way down, and use a night mode filter. A great tactic to prevent your brain from racing at night is the mental offload. Keep a small notebook by your bed. Right before you turn out the lights, write down 3 things. One small win or good thing that happened today. One thing you are worried about, and the very first action you will take care of tomorrow morning. By writing it down, you are giving your brain permission to let it go. You've parked the thoughts, and your brain doesn't need to keep spinning on them all night long. If you do find yourself lying in bed, unable to sleep for more than 20 minutes, get out of bed. Go to your quiet corner. Read something boring on paper under a dim light. Don't teach your brain that your bed is a place for anxious thinking. When you feel sleepy again, go back to bed. Protect your sleep, and you will protect your sanity. So, your pantry might be full of shelf-stable food, but that doesn't mean your mood has to be unstable. What and when you eat has a direct and immediate impact on your blood sugar, which in turn has a huge impact on your energy levels and your emotional state. We're not just eating for survival, we're eating for stability. The first rule is to have a solid breakfast baseline. Starting your day with sugary cereals or pastries is like lighting a match to your energy. You'll get a big flare-up, followed by a disappointing crash an hour later that leaves you feeling tired, irritable, and craving more sugar. Instead, start your day with a meal centered on protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates. This could be something as simple as oatmeal made with powdered milk, a scoop of peanut butter, and a sprinkle of cinnamon. It could be a can of tuna or sardines mixed with some rice and a little olive oil. It could even be a simple bowl of beans. This kind of meal provides slow-release energy that will keep your blood sugar and your mood on a much more even keel throughout the morning. Hydration is the next piece of the puzzle. It's incredibly easy to get dehydrated when you're stuck inside all day because you're not getting the usual cues to drink. Even mild dehydration can manifest as brain fog, headaches, and irritability, symptoms you might mistake for just being stressed out. A simple trick to combat this is to fill a specific water bottle or jug every single morning. Your only hydration goal for the day is to make sure that container is empty by the time you go to bed. Adding a tiny pinch of salt and a little squeeze of lemon juice, if you have it, can also help your body absorb the water more effectively. And let's not forget about fiber. A diet of processed, shelf-stable food can wreak havoc on your digestive system, and physical discomfort is a major source of mental friction. Mixing things like canned beans, lentils, and brown rice will provide the fiber you need to keep things regular and predictable. If you have things like shelf-stable sauerkraut or other pickled vegetables, they are great for your gut health as well. Treats are important for morale, but they work best when they are used with intention. Instead of grazing on cookies or candy all day, which will send your blood sugar on a roller coaster, create a specific treat window. For example, you can have a small rewarding treat after your social phase in the evening. This makes the treat feel earned and special, and it contains the sugar spike to one part of the day, making it much easier for your body to manage. After more than a few days locked in the same space, even the people you love the most can start to drive you completely insane. The way they breathe, the way they chew, the little noises they make, it can all become amplified until you feel like you're going to explode. This is a normal part of confinement. The goal isn't to pretend you never get annoyed. The goal is to have systems in place that prevent that annoyance from escalating into a full-blown, morale-crushing conflict. One of the best tools is a chore rotation that has a built-in release valve. Everyone has their assigned tasks, but you also give each person one opt-out voucher per week. This voucher allows them to skip one assigned chore, no questions asked, no penalty. They just have to announce at the morning meeting that they're using their voucher for the day. This gives people a sense of control and autonomy, and it prevents the kind of resentment that builds up when people feel forced into doing things. Another incredibly powerful tool is the private time token. Each adult in the house gets a physical token. It could be a poker chip, a specific hat, or even just a clothespin they can clip to their shirt. When a person is displaying their token, it means they are not available for conversation for a set period of time, maybe 30 or 60 minutes. It's a universal do not disturb sign. It allows people to take the space they need to decompress without having to have an argument about it. To handle issues before they fester, you can use a hot wash cold start system. Every evening, you have a 5-minute hot wash. Anyone can bring up one issue that's bothering them. I'm feeling stressed about the noise level. I was frustrated when the tools weren't put away. During the hot wash, there are no responses or debates. You just listen. The next morning, you have a cold start, where you address each item that was brought up. You spend 1 minute on each issue, focused only on finding a solution or an experiment to try. This process separates the emotion of the moment from the problem solving, which is far more productive. But my favorite tool is the reset code word. The group agrees on a simple, neutral, or even silly word beforehand. Let's say the word is bubbles. If an argument is starting to get heated and someone feels it escalating, they can just say bubbles. The instant that word is said, the rule is that both parties have to stop talking immediately and physically step away from each other for 2 full minutes. It breaks the momentum of the argument and gives everyone's nervous system a chance to cool down before something is said that can't be taken back. A one-size-fits-all plan doesn't work when you have a multi-generational group. Kids, teenagers, and older adults have different needs, and a smart plan adapts to meet them. For young children, the 2 biggest needs are structure and a sense of purpose. They can't just be entertained with screens for weeks on end. It will make them anxious and unruly. You need to give them real, important jobs. Frame it as their contribution to the team. They can be the chief bean counter, responsible for inventorying all the canned goods. They can be the water master, in charge of making sure everyone's water bottles are full. You can create sensory kits for them. A small bin with things like Play-Doh, rubber bands, and different textured fabrics, to give them an outlet for their fidgety energy that doesn't involve running around and screaming. Teenagers are a different challenge. The biggest mistake you can make with a teen is to treat them like a child. They crave autonomy and respect, so give it to them. Assign them a real domain of responsibility. Put them in charge of maintaining the power station and logging battery levels. Make them the information officer for a few days a week. Give them a complex build project like setting up a microgreens tray or designing the week's exercise circuit. Challenge them. If you treat them like a capable young adult and a valued member of the team, they will almost always rise to the occasion. If you treat them like a nuisance, they will be happy to prove you right. For elders or anyone with mobility issues, the priorities are safety, comfort, and dignity. Make sure their living space is warm and that you've eliminated tripping hazards. You should lead them through a very gentle daily mobility loop. Things like ankle circles, shoulder rolls, and a few slow, careful sit-to-stands from a chair. This helps prevent stiffness and reduces the risk of a dangerous fall. But most importantly, tap into their value. Ask them to be the group sage. Their job could be to tell one story from their past each day after dinner, or to teach a skill they have, whether it's mending clothes, identifying plants, or just sharing wisdom. This reinforces their role as a respected elder, not a burden, which is critical for their morale and for the health of the entire group. By tailoring your plan, you're not just managing people, you're building a stronger, more resilient, and more cohesive team. This is how you win. You don't leave your mental state to chance. You win by intentionally structuring your space, your time, and even your thoughts. You build routines for movement, sleep, and information that protect your mind. You have systems in place that prevent conflict and keep your skills sharp. This is a proactive strategy for mental resilience. This is how you stay sane and strong when the walls feel like they're closing in. Everything we've talked about today are things you can start implementing right now, tonight. Don't wait for the crisis to hit to figure this stuff out. The time to prepare is always now. To keep building these essential skills, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. And for a complete guide that covers everything from long-term food storage to building a community network, you need to own a copy of this. Pick up my new book, Before It All Falls Apart, the Emergency Prep Manual for the Real World. It is your go-to reference. You can grab your copy on Amazon using the link right there in the description. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay smart, and stay sane.